expand into their lands. Now, in this world, there isn't much happening right now, and it is mostly a time of prosperity for everyone. But not for the pink team. See, the pink team just got surprised. The red team begins advancing into the pink team. The pink team does not take this lightly, but they can't really do anything. Cop ASMR. Anyways, the red team begins overwhelming the pink team, even though they already were, and eventually the red team cuts the pink team in half. Or better said, turns them into two countries. This one technically falls first, although they protect their capital with all their strength. This side, now having no strength left, falls quickly and easily. Eventually, the siege goes into a red team victory. Meanwhile, the lime team, well, the lime team just got a Sri Lankan revolt, but it isn't just the lime team. See, Sri Lanka began developing its own identity, and eventually it declared its independence. Now, Indian countries are scared. Because what happens if, well, people start getting national identities too? And being scared of this, the yellow team's population has a vote. The vote is, do we join the green team or dark green team? And the vote was overwhelmingly yes, we want to join the green team. Not rigged, because the green team is a democracy, is the first democracy. So, the green team begins expanding north. And north they go. The more north they go, the better at exploring they get. But it's a joint effort by everybody to begin exploring north. But by now, everyone needs resources. The yellow team especially needs money, because their coffers are empty. And they want to be rich again, because right now the richest nation is the red team. Yay! But anyways, the yellow team begins expanding even more. And eventually, they begin expanding way west. I mean, very west. And this is the first time I've actually seen westward expansion. So, the yellow team expands up to this point. Almost this point. There, the yellow team expands up to this point. But the green team also kind of wants money, though not many countries know it exists yet. So, it also expands. Also, the only country that actually does know of its existence, other than the yellow team, is the red team and the pastel green team. Due to these guys breaking off from them and the red team being the only one to really trade. Also, they can now do this. Better. And go back from that route, which gives us our first trade route, which I will now create a new layer. No, it didn't copy correctly. Doesn't matter. In this layer, countries, these trade routes will be presented with this color, this color. So, the red team has multiple trade ports. That's too close to this, never mind. No, I want a better color. Here, this is nice. Okay, so the red team, has some options. Their farthest distant populated area is here. So, a city from here can send people here, which means these islands are most likely discovered. But no, because their ships still aren't that good. So, the first major stop is this city, or this island, then the city. And then, next major stop for trade is up north. After that, they go to the cyan team. After that, they go to the blue team, and sometimes do go to the cyan team a couple more times, due to other major cities being on the coast. Same with Bangladesh, basically, but they're still called blue team. Then there's multiple outposts for the yellow team, to them being greedy. Really greedy. Then comes the green team. They get a couple outposts, and by a couple I mean a lot, and then Sri Lanka, which basically has outposts along its entire eastern edge and a bit of its western, or most of its western edge. From here people go from Sri Lanka to other trading ports to the green team. More trading ports, you get the deal. So, from here, they go back on trading routes, eventually make it back to their hometown, or home city, whatever you want to call it. Also, these guys are working on building a canal here. So, let's say that the canal is built. Or better, here, since this is thinner. Now, people can go from here and trade across the red team. Their final stops are here, and they go back across the canal and back to their hometowns. Right now, we have a pretty good amount of countries and a pretty good amount of everything. To be honest, we're not missing anything other than the rest of the world. So, the rest of the world they do. They be. That's weird. Oh, that's what's happening. Okay, that's weird. Sorry for the. Oh, I know what happened. Okay, there. So, expansion they do. The red team begins going up the Chinese coast, or better, Vietnamese coast, and explores all the way up to here. Going here and spotting a bit of, South Hong Kong Island, that's what I'm going to call it. They go up a bit here, but they stop after being far enough. But they do manage to get on this island, explore the rest of it, and then go back. The red team then begins expanding into newly discovered territories. So, north they go. More north they go, higher they go, and better they get at exploring, due to them now caring about exploring way more than normal. They also manage to get their ships from here to here, then colonize over here, and also managed to get a tiny colony over here. Now you can see how big they are. They also managed to make it over here to this Indonesian island I do not know the name of. So they explore all these tiny islands and go up the coast of this island. Again, I do not know the name, I only know Java, Borneo. I'm going to call this weird looking island because I mean it does look weird. Anyways, it's snowing outside. Okay. Anyways, the red team explores this island, but it's pretty hard to explore due to it being pretty foresty. They manage to explore other islands, but not this one. Fully, at least. They go down the coast and they discover Java. So, up the Javan coast they go, and again, they don't really manage to explore a lot due to the jungles. By now, the world is starting to get majorly explored. These guys heading north towards China, which is exactly what they're doing. It's a joint effort from the Cyan team, which are now starting to grow relations. Oh. So the blue team invades the Cyan team, due to the blue team trying to reclaim territory. So at first it seems like the blue team is gonna win. And they are. But something interesting happens. The red team joins too, capturing their capital and basically splitting up the Cyan team. So they both invade the Cyan team, the red team especially going faster and capturing the rest. They begin expanding northwards, and by now the population is pretty spread out. You know what this means. A new layer. Population density. Okay. Everyone gets green. Green means low to no population density. Orange means, hey, this place has some population. Or better, light green means, hey, this place has some population. Orange means, hey, there's a lot of people here. And red means population is immense. First, let's start off with light green areas. Light green areas include, let me find it. Southern tips of Bangladesh, areas up here, the entire south of over here, a bit of the Vietnamese coast, and a bit more of Vietnam, but mostly along the newly colonized areas. Population isn't very widespread here, due to this being a newly new area. This team, red team, probably has around 500,000 or better 200,000 people. Then we have yellow areas. I forgot to mention those, but those are areas that have some population but not that much, which is blue team area, and a bit of the coast over here due to that having less people, and a bit of the coast over here, but not that much. Then Sri Lanka, at least the central part of Sri Lanka. Due to, yeah, it was explored, but it wasn't really suitable for life. But people still managed to get there more than the Himalayas or places that were barely colonized. So, it's still manageable. Final area was up here and right here. Mamá, estoy haciendo un video. So, population density is pretty widespread. Oh gosh, I'm gonna have a lot to fill in. Now let's go to, hey, this area is pretty populated. Areas include, oh wait, I forgot to add this. These areas include areas right here. Basically all of India, due to it being a common place for trade. The rest of Sri Lanka, and more areas over here. Now let's get to, hey, these areas are pretty populated. These areas, really populated actually. These areas include northern tip of Sri Lanka. Now Sri Lanka looks like a campfire. Actually, better idea. These areas include, again, northern Sri Lanka, southern tips of India, parts of the Yellow Team, or basically the entire Yellow Team coast. Just kidding, that would be way too much. Yellow Team capital, and major cities. None of the blue team, because they don't really have that much population. Their countries in the Himalayas, other than some areas on the coast, but these aren't very highly populated. Other than the newly captured areas, which are pretty populated. And very populated. That's way too much population. Then we have the biggest population center over here in the red team. This is our population density map for now. It'll definitely change, but it's pretty good for now. Anyways, let's get back to what we were doing. Expansion. The red team sends explorers up here, though not many people even live here. And they expand. Now, it's going to be hard to update these maps. Due to, well, yeah. But, let me try something. If I do this here, no, okay, it's going to be impossible to update these maps. Anyways, the red team expands north, or at least this north. They explore over here and explore further onto the coast of China, finding where modern-day Hong Kong is. By this point, everyone is getting concerned about how big the red team is getting, so they fund a major rebellion in the red team. This rebellion succeeds, and all peasantry areas of the red team and more get revolt away from the red team. Now, remember in the short where I said that they were going to have a lot, and I mean a big empire? Well, size doesn't always tell you how big something is going to be. Although they have the majority of the red team, these areas very poor. These areas better, but still not much. These are the best areas to live in. And this is what these guys are trying to capture. So, they don't let them. The red team kicks them out of basically the entire area. And cuts them off from here. Next, they go into here and invade over here too. By now, the rebellion is looking super weak until they start funding them with their own guys. Funding helps the purple or pink team or pink rebellion a bit, but it doesn't really help them much. Guerrilla warfare is the only thing that can really help them now. And it doesn't. The red team is still around. So, they get revenge. There goes the blue team. Mostly. They've lost basically all of their major population centers now. And the red team tries to get Sri Lanka and an Indian coast, but fail for now. But this is how that goes. As you see, the red team has a very big navy now. And as you can also see, it is bad to have all your major cities on the coast. As, well, it collapses you pretty quickly. The yellow team and green team managed to push out the reds. As they didn't really send many guys down here to enforce this. But what they could do, set these guys back as much as they possibly could, so that there would be no rival for the red team. And they set these guys back as much as they could. These guys were sent back to when these guys were just around this big. They sent them back to when they were this big. Obviously, this didn't really do anything, but still. But one more invasion was funded. A blue team invasion of Reconquest. The blue team gets all of their before land back. They are sent back to when these guys were itty bitty. Like this big. Actually, more than that. This big. Yeah. Now, the red team capital is exposed again. But there aren't many countries to expose it with. By now, governments are so autonomous that they basically act as independent countries, but there's a reason why this thing is holding together. It's because of the power of propaganda. And also convincing that these guys were the greatest nation on earth. Which they wouldn't become until they got this, which is the most industrialized and greedy area of the world, or better, India as a whole. Not Sri Lanka, they're not very advanced yet. So the red team needs to find something rich. They will find it when they go high enough. Anyways, they manage to expand or explore even more in Indonesia, or whatever this island is. And they do it pretty well. Their expansion or expedition is halted once they meet the very thick jungles, but they just hug the coast, come to a conclusion. This is just ground. We don't know how it looks like, but it's ground. By now, Borneo is discovered. And they explore a bit of the coasts, but not much. They go up and go up even more. By now, they're actually moving people into here, not for themselves, but for a colony. See, we're gonna make an island colony. They consider this rightfully theirs, but the rest can go to the colony. At least that's what they were thinking at the start, until the king got overthrown. The oligarchy instead was put into place, adding one more oligarchy to the world. Oligarchies were starting to become the most, well, popular thing to ever make in this timeline. Oligarchies everywhere. Only one democracy. About that democracy, social democracy is a thing, but it isn't that good anymore. No countries are using it. People are just suggesting it. So they basically claim the entire island. But now that the king is overthrown, or at least the former king, he wants to take all of this for himself. And take it for himself he does. Because as they do this, they begin expanding into their Javan findings and even into their Borneo findings. Yeah, so now they're really big. It's surprising that they're even holding up this much. Population density up here is now more like this. Actually, like this. See, exploration isn't that big right now, but it still is. Exploration right now is still, well, in its early phases, and settling isn't put in mass right now, at least yet. So, the red team doesn't really care about population density, though this entire peninsula thing and most of this is now, well, a population hub. The red team begins expanding its borders north till it reaches this. It also manages to make it hit to the Chinese coast. By now, it's a miracle that this thing is still holding up. And it'll last for a very long time. By now, exploration over here has also expanded. By now, Himalaya journeys into the Himalayas are becoming even more, well, possible due to rapidly changing technology. By now, they can basically just go up a mountain and not lose half of their population. They lose 75%. Just like the Carthaginians went, or better, Hannibal went from here lost 50% of their people, 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 here started gaining people, but they gained people up here too. Yeah, and down here until they were kicked out of Rome. Anyways, that won't be discovered for another who knows how much time. Anyways, these guys expand north. And I mean really north. They basically uncover the entire Indian subcontinent, or at least the best part, and these guys start to think that this goes up forever, due to it basically looking like that. But they figure out that it's way too inaccurate and possibly just crazy stories, though they probably would think that it was real. Well, due to, well, the time they're still in. People in the Middle Ages were still here believing that dragons were real and that everyone should be scared of a big witch or wizard. Anyways, the green team and yellow team are becoming bigger every single day and might actually be a serious competitor to, well, the red team. That is until they pull one of the best exploration missions in all of history. They put in extra funded mission to go all along Chinese coast. They find Taiwan, capture it, well, explore it, and they go basically up the entire Chinese coast. These guys are being supplied by boats, which are being brought from explored areas. Basically, these guys are expanding without really expanding. They make it to Korea, explore the coast, and stop around here. Then they sail from here to then they start sailing, find this tiny island, and start exploring the sea. They find out that this is directly from this. This is a very short passage or voyage. If you go from here, you go here, and this looks round. By now, these guys are one of the best explorers, as already mentioned like 5 times. They also make it to the northern Philippines. They explore up north,
and do a massive deal of expansion, along with the blue team. The blue team expands into the Himalayas, and areas that aren't very Himalaya but still technically Himalaya. And the red team, well, the red team expands a lot. By now, the red team has basically colonized the entire known world to them. At least, they think they do, but they decide that if we uncover the coast, we might actually get here, or be successful. These guys have a border agreement because this looks terrible. Just kidding. They wouldn't have a border agreement just because something looks terrible. These are the first basically straight line borders in the world. Anyways, expeditions into Java and Borneo keep happening. As Java is fully explored, Borneo, they send ships from here to here, and Borneo also gets basically explored as they guess that it'll probably keep going up. But they know that there's something up here, and they think that that might be the top portion of it. So they keep going up, and they find out, no, it's not the top portion. But they basically know that this exists now. They also make it to this island of the Philippines, explore more of the Philippines, going up basically this entire northern island thing. Though the Philippines will be hard for them due to, well, all the islands. But they do expand into new Filipino territory. They also send more expeditions to explore to get up here. And by now, exploration is at its high, but not as much as the age of exploration. See, it starts to get cold up here, like really cold. I mean, yeah, they do figure out that this is a peninsula, but they stop around right here due to, well, conditions here are very different from Korea or something like that. So they go up the river, or that acts as North Korea's border IRL, and stop there. They expand their territory basically up this entire Chinese coast, making it to modern-day Shanghai, and basically colonizing a bit of Korea. By now, their influence is very well known. They are basically the gods of this world. If you mess with them, well, there's not much you can do after, other than sit around for a long, long time. So, they keep exploring and exploring until their boats are good enough to figure out these islands, which immediately got colonized along with those. For some reason, in real life, India owns those. I do not know why, but it's weird. Expeditions here go here, and by now they're starting to guess, hey, these might be a lot of islands, and they are proven correct after they found this out. By now, the people here start to adapt, and they're basically their own peoples, but are put under an iron fist by these guys. Due to their only supplies and known of existence coming from them, they can't really do anything about it. These people start to get their own national identity and eventually become totally different from the people down here. The line is split around right here. Anyways, the red team expands more into China, as these guys are just seen as another national identity inside of this massive empire. See? Basically, their empire is ginormous right now. There's basically nothing other than natural disasters that can stop them. If they make it to the rest of China, though, that's for another video that I have not done yet. They meet the Gobi Desert around right here, and they start going around it. By then, they're basically exhausted out of their coffers, so they need to find rich territories, which are found in Japan. Even though China is rich for farming rice and stuff, they don't have rice seeds anymore. They haven't found those yet. But they do find them in Japan. But it isn't them. People from a different national identity that developed in Korea and stuff, from about right here, begin coming to Japan. At first, they were trying to go from here to here to here to start a new life. Some were trying to go here to start a new life. Some even wanted to venture out far 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 into the distance. But they can't really do that. Their ships can't even make it from here to here yet. So they would have to stop here, then go here. Some people do attempt a voyage from here to here, though. It's dangerous, and there's many wonky parts due to turbulence, but they make it here. From here, more people start migrating to Taiwan, and eventually, the Philippines also comes under their national identity. Talking about the Philippines are fully colonized. Now, I've been focusing a lot on the red team, and they have major amounts of plot armor right now, but not that much. The red team begins expanding like crazy. Expansion is their number one goal. It's the only thing they live for. It's the only thing they are. And eventually, they make it. They do a voyage from here to here, discovering all of this territory. This is the greatest voyage and exploration trip in all of history. But this is where their empire starts to cripple. See, their empire has gotten too big. They have all the eastern islands of Indonesia, or western islands of Indonesia, and they have basically Korea. And, oh look. Now this is too big. I told you they were going to get massive for the time. This is where they start to collapse. These guys are their main internal problem, as they set up a new government in Japan. This new government then declares governance over the entire Korean peoples. This government then explores basically all of Japan and a bit of the northern island. The government sets itself up in Japan and says it's new name, the Orange Team. The Orange Team then begins rallying and gets some islands off the coast of Korea. People up here begin wanting to join not the red team, they want to be yellow team or orange team. So they begin breaking into smaller, and I mean way smaller states. The red team basically loses a lot.
And they are not happy with this, so they invade the orange team. The orange team does not take this lightly, and basically the entire Korean peninsula revolts against them. Parts of Shanghai and this entire sea or Yellow Sea also revolts. The red team decides to leave these guys alone, but this is the least of their troubles, as China also breaks away. But it breaks away as many different states, with some already existing states getting even more land out of this. By now, the red team is majorly collapsing. These guys basically have their actual peoples around right here and right here. So, major collapse it is then. Many states begin in basically tearing up the former giants. As the more and more these guys grow, the worse and worse they become. They At first, they lose Borneo, which doesn't have much population, anyways. Then they lose Java, which actually had some population. And they lose a bit more of territory over here in whatever this island is called. Sorry if you actually live here. Though I doubt these guys are going to be watching this. This northern part, or at least some parts of it, began revolting even more. As they are greatly reduced, and even already existing nations, again, take major chunks of this empire. Final blow comes when the rest of this island breaks away, along with a couple southern parts of, or tips of this area. By now, the people have lost any sign of hope for their government, and the main part of the red team, well, breaks away, taking away another major part of their civilization along with them. By now, the red team have lost relevance due to them literally losing their homeland. And to revolters. Revolters. So, this place basically breaks up into anarchy, but the main governments in this place are the revival of the old king, which honestly doesn't really have any people, but it's still one of the main since it's one of the only. And the real parties are democracy, these guys who just want to have their country back, and these guys which have basically no interest other than land, and the old government, which now has basically no loyal people. So, the nation ends, well, falling apart, as the southern part goes to these guys, and I mean the entire southern part. And then the ones who win are the Democrats, kicking out the restore or the old king guys, and basically officially collapsing this major state. Some of these states can't really hold themselves either. This teal, no, oh, pastel green state. Wait, isn't there already a pastel green? You can be the new lime green team until we get a new one. But these guys collapse into different areas. Easily conquerable areas too. Some countries do get a split out of this though. The main people getting a bit of the country are the newly reformed red team, or by this point, I don't even, like, pinkish team, and this pinkish team. And this team. Rose team or something like that. Kinda looks like that. And the main government isn't really in power here anymore. And the Japanese up here then began expanding even more. As well, they basically have no limits as they expand up or explore up here. But none of these guys really have the same type of exploration that the red team had. And the one that was remotely close, these guys didn't even have access to any unexplored lands. By now, the world has a lot of countries, more than you could even imagine. New islands are getting discovered practically every day, and the red team only survives in one area. Tiny islands which get decimated by teams closer to them. And these islands are where people from the red team fled in an attempt to not get found. But eventually they did, quickly even. And the red team is no longer. So islands get discovered. A lot of them. This weird looking island is, well, carved up. Because these guys also discovered the southern portion of it. So this is how they split it. South goes to aquatic blue team. North goes to avocado green team. Avocado green team. Now let's go to India and the blue team. The blue team, now basically resting in the ashes of the red team, their main rival, now begins to expand north. But again, they don't really have the same pizzazz as the red team. Yellow team and green team also begin expanding north as the Sri Lankans actually decide to work on their navy. Many expeditions go wrong, but they start to begin to get over. And they start sailing to their one ally, the aquatic blue team, which recently got kicked out of, I don't know what this peninsula is called, peninsula. As also the pink team and the supposed newly reformed governments of the red team also get expelled out of here. These guys then become allies due to them having, well, shared interests of conquering former red team territory. You can think of this red team as Rome. It had a successor state, sure, but
Not really. Remember, we're not really at Roman times yet. This is way before. Anyways, these guys begin exploring north, and they discover this thing. I don't know what it's called. But exploration, again, begins to, well, exist. But not really. As these guys take this up, yellow team takes this up, and blue team, well, they take a lot up. And as they take that up, the yellow team takes up territory. By now, there's a race between everyone in the former red team to see who can reunite the red team. The orange team begins, well, invading this rose pink team. They respond again with an invasion, managing to push the border back just a bit, and a third peace treaty makes it official. Then they explore up north, but the north doesn't really stay loyal, as a new team up here is formed. As these guys make their own country, due to them basically just saying, hey, we want to be a democracy, guys. Democracy is cool. We get to pick who we want instead of just, well, God chooses it or something. But anyways, these guys, well, they don't do very well due to being, well, in northern Siberia. But that does open up the room for a Russian state. As people in the northernmost tip of this country begin adapting. And at this point, the world is full of way too many countries. So I'll stop here. Thank you for watching, everyone. Please subscribe, and thank you for watching until the end. I hope you liked this video, and goodbye, folks. Have a nice day. Hope it's good. Happy Thanksgiving, and you'll see a Thanksgiving special.